So 2023 was a really good year as far as clones go, especially I would say for houses like Fragrance World, Maison Alhambra or Lattafa, and then also even from Paris Corner. So what I have here today is going to be a list of 10 fragrances, 10 original fragrances that I actually hope that, those houses actually do clones of this year. All right. So just to get started, make sure that this video isn't too long. I'm going to get started with the first fragrance. The first one is going to be Louis Vuitton's Meteor. So at least for me anyway, I feel like the more fresher sort of Louis Vuitton fragrances at least are what I more so look for. I don't really look for the more sort of darker sort of, Louis Vuitton fragrances. I know a lot of people do love those, but I feel like the more fresher ones are the ones at least here in the United States would probably sell better. So I think a Louis Vuitton Meteor clone, a really solid one, would actually do pretty well. I would love to see, someone like, F.A. Paris Fragrance World do a rendition of that fragrance. I think they did a really good job with Essence de Blanc from Louis Vuitton. So it would be really nice to see them do that. So again, that's going to be Louis Vuitton's Meteor. The next fragrance I would say is going to be a little bit more, I would say less well known. This is going to be from the Dior Privé collection, and this is going to be Dior's The Cachemire. Or tea cashmere. That fragrance is pretty much just like a really sort of fresh tea fragrance. I do enjoy tea fragrances a lot. And I do think I think the only house that I know of who's really put out a clone of that fragrance is Alexandria Fragrances. Maybe Dua has also, but yeah, I mean, the one that I'm most familiar with that exists is the one from Alexandria Fragrances. I would love to see, again, someone like F.A. Paris or I know Maison Alhambra, they have like a whole line of like the Dior Privé fragrances that they've cloned. I would love to see them do, a tea cashmere fragrance as well. So definitely, again, that would be Dior Privé tea cashmere. All right, so the third fragrance, there is already technically a clone of this particular fragrance. Just Jack does their rendition of it, Amalfi Coast. But basically this would be Tom Ford's Mandarino Di Amalfi. I would love to see, either Maison Alhambra or Fragrance World, or even, like Pandora Scents or something like that, do a rendition, a really accurate rendition of Tom Ford's Mandarino Di Amalfi. That's I would say one of my favorite sort of Tom Ford fragrances. I do definitely like the more sort of fresher Tom Ford fragrances. I like some of the other ones as well, but I would say, at least for me, I'm definitely like a freshy sort of guy. So I like the way that the Tom Ford Mandarino Di Amalfi smells. And I think Fragrance World could probably do a little bit better job than what Just Jack did. So I would absolutely be, grateful if they could, pull that off. So definitely, again, Tom Ford Mandarino Di Amalfi. All right, so number 4 on the list is going to be Parfums de Marly's Althair. So I haven't actually smelled that fragrance, but it does seem like an actual vanilla fragrance that I would enjoy a lot. Obviously, I do like the note of vanilla. It's not necessarily something that is too feminine, at least, in my opinion, for me to wear. So I do enjoy wearing those types of fragrances, even if they're technically marketed towards women. I've worn fragrances like, Van Cleef & Arpels Orchidée Vanille. Wore that with no problem. Have worn Un Bois Vanille from Serge Lutens. And I had no problem wearing those fragrances. Those are really nice, smelling fragrances. So Althair, I feel like for the most part, most people kind of consider that unisex. So it would be really nice to see, definitely I would say Fragrance World do their version of that fragrance and kind of do it in the same way that they did the clone of Hautaine, where the bottle pretty much looks, you know, exactly like the Haultain bottle. That would be nice to see them do the same thing with Althair. So absolutely, man. Again, PDM Althair. So the next one is going to be an Initio fragrance, and I feel like FA Paris Fragrance World has done a very good job with their clones of Initio fragrances. So I know they've just recently, I want to say they did a couple new fragrances that I hadn't seen. I think one might have been like High Frequency or something like that. And then I think they also did do recently like a Atomic Rose clone. So I do feel like it would be nice if they would do an Absolute Aphrodisiac clone as well, just to kind of keep that line going. Because like I said, all of the, you know, FA Paris Fragrance World Initio clones that I've smelled have been very good. You know, Glorious Oud, Happiness Oud, the Glorious Oud Royal Blanc, After Effect. Those are really, really good clones of the Initio fragrances. So I think that, you know, it is due for them to go ahead and do the Absolute Aphrodisiac. So again, Initio's Absolute Aphrodisiac. So the next one is going to be another Louis Vuitton clone, and this is going to be a clone of one of their more like higher extrait line clones or fragrances, and this is going to be Louis Vuitton Symphony. So I know there's been a couple of Louis Vuitton Stellar Times clones that have come out, and Stellar Times is a pretty decent fragrance. At least in my opinion, I feel like that's definitely more of like a feminine leaning sort of scent. But I absolutely want to see them do like a clone of Louis Vuitton Symphony. So that's more of, I would say, sort of like a unisex sort of citrusy type of scent. I would absolutely love to see, you know, either FA Paris Fragrance World do a clone of that, or possibly even, you know, Maison Alhambra. I would assume probably FA Paris Fragrance World would probably be able to get it done a little bit better, because their fragrances, they seem to be of, you know, higher quality, I would say. So that's definitely one that I would want to see them more than likely do. But if anyone else could do it and do it, you know, pretty accurately, then I would love to see that as well. So again, Louis Vuitton Symphony. So the next one, I know some people are absolutely sick of the Sauvage scent profile. I'm definitely one of those people who actually love Sauvage. So I would want to see my favorite Sauvage out of all the ones that I've smelled, which would be Dior Sauvage Parfum. All right. So I would love to see, you know, either Maison Alhambra or Paris Corner or even Fragrance World do a Dior Sauvage Parfum clone. To me, that's the best smelling one. I know a lot of people, they tend to go more towards like the Sauvage Elixir being the best one. I don't necessarily, I mean, I definitely, I appreciate Sauvage Elixir, but it's definitely not my favorite. And I would say with how strong that fragrance is, the original one anyway, that makes it one that I don't necessarily reach for that much, because it is just like so strong. So Sauvage Parfum, I feel like it gives you a really nice sort of scent bubble, and it is a fragrance that I feel like I could probably wear all year round. So again, I would love to see a clone of that, and again, that's Dior Sauvage Parfum. So the next one is going to be from the house of Creed, and this is, I would say, a little bit lesser known Creed. This is going to be Creed's Asian Green Tea. Again, I absolutely love tea fragrances, so that's why this particular fragrance is on the list. I love the way that, you know, Asian green tea smells. I just feel like the performance with that fragrance is not very good at all. And I mean, the price is definitely not as much as most other Creeds are, although I feel like I am starting to see the price of that slowly kind of creep up. So I'm not sure if maybe if that one is about to be discontinued, or maybe it is already discontinued. But I feel like, you know, a clone house could probably do that fragrance and give it better performance and have it smell at least about 90% close to the original Creed. I would be really happy with that. So again, that would be Asian green tea. All right, so the number 9 fragrance, that's gonna be Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Gentle Fluidity Silver. All right, so I know Fragrance World, they have their version of Gentle Fluidity Gold. I would love to see them do a really good rendition of Gentle Fluidity Silver. I really enjoyed their version of MFK's Grand Soir. I enjoyed their version of the Aqua Universalis Forte Cologne, also the Aqua Celestia. I haven't smelled their Baccarat, the EDP or X-Ray clones, but you know, all the ones at least that I've smelled within that sort of Bearcat line have been pretty good. So I'm pretty shocked that they didn't do a Gentle Fluidity Silver clone yet. Maybe that is something they, you know, have in works for this year. If so, I'd be really appreciative of that. So again, that's going to be MFK's Gentle Fluidity Silver. And then the last fragrance on the list is going to be from the house of Guerlain, and this is going to be one of those higher end Guerlain fragrances from like their private collection, and it's going to be Tonka Imperiale. So I would say my 2 sort of favorite fragrances from Guerlain are going to be Spirituise Double Vanille and then Tonka Imperiale. So those 2 fragrances really, I think are their best fragrances that I've smelled anyway. I know I wasn't necessarily that crazy about Spirituise Double Vanille when I first smelled it, but I feel like as I've sort of worn that fragrance a little bit more with the sample that I have of it, I definitely have been enjoying that fragrance a lot more. I do actually prefer Tonka Imperiale a little bit more though. It has this sort of like fizzy, sort of ambery smell to it mixed with tonka bean. It's just a really nice fragrance that I enjoy a lot. And I would love to see, you know, either F.A. Paris Fragrance World or even Maison Alhambra or something like that do a clone of that fragrance. So again, that's going to be Guerlain's Tonka Imperiale. So that is the list, man. Let me know if you all would like to see some of these, you know, fragrances that I mentioned be cloned as well. These are all pretty much unisex fragrances. So these are fragrances that anybody can wear. And these are definitely ones that I absolutely would appreciate a lot if, you know, one of these Middle Eastern clone houses could put out their own renditions of these fragrances. All right. So let me know what you all think about the list in the comments below. Also, if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see you on the next video.